alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef, and welcome back to your Week in Horror, bringing you all of the latest spooky news of this past week. We're going to be starting off with some horror headlines beginning on Monday the 19th up until Saturday the 24th of July, and believe me, it was a good week for horror fans. We got a lot of awesome news, stuff that I cannot wait to share. So before I start, I'm going crazy over here. You know what? Let's just get started. I'm impatient. I want to get through all these crazy, awesome, good news because there's a lot. Like I said, a lot. I'm going through all my headlines here, and I'm like, wow. I kind of went overboard, but you know what? You guys deserve it. I want you guys to be super updated on everything to do in horror, so I figured, why not? But anyway, starting off, we have FX here created a pop-up themed bakery to celebrate the premiere of American Horror Stories, which is really cool. So it looks like up in New York City's meatpacking district, FX opened up a pop-up themed bakery about American Horror Stories. It is actually today, funny enough, if you live up in New York, today was your last day for that on July 24th. However, some of the things that it included, outside of just regular sweet treats, it had a themed American Horror Story experience that includes shareable moments, off-menu sweepstakes, and a sneak peek at the upcoming series, which is pretty cool. That's a nice little thing for everybody else over there. Yeah, so like I said earlier, it did end in New York on July 24th, but it looks like it will be coming out in August to LA, and they're also going to be announcing another surprise location, so keep your eyes and ears open on that. But if you are nowhere near any of these areas like yours truly here, you can also go to ahsnightbites.com and you'll actually be able to order some of those sweet treats online and have them shipped to you. So if you want to try some of those sweet, delicious baked goods, because I'm a bitch for baked goods, you know I'm going to try them. So yeah, you can go to that website there and give them a try. But moving on to our next piece of news, this one's really cool. One of the companies, this company called Vice Press, they announced a brand new print for the Universal Monsters, which is really cool. You can see the pictures of that up in my Instagram on Sounds from the Grave. But Vice Press announced this during San Diego Comic-Con week. They collaborated with Bottleneck Gallery on this one, and it's really, really cool. It was actually drawn or created by this British artist, Andrew Swainson, and there are actually going to be two different versions of this. One, it's going to be a black and white standard. It's going to be available through Vice Press, and then there's going to be a special red variant edition, and you can only get that through Sideshow Collectibles. Like I said, if you haven't seen those pictures yet, they're really, really cool. I feel like there's a nice representation of all the monsters because you have all the classics. You know, you got your creature, you got your Frankenstein's monster, you got your Bride, you got your Dracula, you got your Wolfman, you got your Mummy, and you even get your Phantom of the Opera. So that's a nice little deal, if you ask me. It's a good little addition there. But yeah, like I said, if you want to see those pictures, you can also find those on our Instagram at Sounds from the Grave. Moving on here. So this one is exciting news if you were a fan of Fear Street. I know I love those movies, they were really, really good. But director Lee Janiak is actually hoping to make more teen horror for Netflix. So they were actually back. Funny enough, I actually didn't know this. All three of the movies were shot back to back, I guess. And of course, as you know, we did 1994, 1978, and 1666, which plays with like all kinds of different horror genres, horror styles, tones, that kind of stuff. But Fear Street, that's just like a snippet of Fear Street because There are a ton of novels from R.L. Stine in the Fear Street franchise. And what's really cool about it is, in a recent interview with IndieWire, Lee Janiak was saying that one of the exciting things about Fear Street is the fact that the universe is big and allows for a lot of space. One of the things that I talked about before I was hired was that we have a potential here to create a horror Marvel Cinematic Universe where you can have slasher killers from lots of different eras. So you have the canon of the main mythology that's built around the fact that the devil lives in Shadyside, and there's also room for everything else. So if you have seen the ending of Fear Street, then you know that the nightmare may or may not be quite over just yet. And obviously, I'm pretty sure that this trilogy has been doing quite well. And if it seems to be, if it continues to do as well as it's been doing, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a pretty good chance that we get some more Fear Street related content. So if you liked Fear Street, that's definitely a good sign. I'm excited to see if they do anything else with it. I liked the Fear Street trilogy. They were very cool, very fun, interesting movies. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. But next, we have a new announcement for a new film that's upcoming now to Netflix. This one is interesting. It is from filmmaker Christopher Landon, who also directed Happy Death Day. It is a movie that is going to be called We Have a Ghost. And what's interesting, it's almost like a horror comedy, this one too. Very similar to Happy Death Day and Freaky, which is another one of Christopher Landon's movies. So it looks like it's about this guy that's he buys the new house, or he buys his house, and then, of course, there's like a ghost in it. But what this guy does is he decides to start filming it, and he sends out the results of what he's filmed through social media, and it essentially makes the ghosts like a viral sensation. And I'm like, this looks like so much fun. Like, I would love to watch this. This feels like such a fun movie, and I'm like, I think that would be interesting, because like it's honestly interesting, because we every time we talk about horror movies and we talk about ghost movies, we almost always see them as creatures, or like ghosts from the 1800s or the 1700s. We never get like a blend of ghost with current events or like current times. And I feel like we finally might be able to get that with We Have a Ghost. So keep your eyes peeled. That's really all we know so far about the movie. We don't have a release date. We don't have a cast as of yet. We don't have anything about this movie yet. So it's going to be pretty interesting. If you are into that kind of stuff, I definitely recommend that you do watch it. But we have some more news here. It looks like Carter Smith, the director of The Ruins, is actually going to go back to body horror with the latest movie that he's going to be making called Swallowed. And it's actually going to be reteaming him with the lead actress of The Ruins, Jenna Malone. Now, in an Instagram post, he revealed a few details about the horror film. The production on it recently wrapped up in Maine. And what's also really cool is Mark Patton from Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is going to be in this film. And he essentially said that Swallowed is his first All the Dead Boys feature. And All the Dead Boys is Carter Smith's like deep dive into queer fear and body horror. And his description of the movie is a slimy, wild, queer horror nightmare of a movie. And I'm just like, okay, this looks interesting. Like, this could be a fun, interesting movie. I would watch this, Why not? Especially because it's body horror. I find body horror to be, like, really, like, impactful to me. I think it's going to be a fun time. Next one we have here, we did get a new look at Michael Myers' new mask for Halloween Kills. On the cover for the upcoming film magazine, I think, or it might have been released already. But this mask looks really cool. You can see the picture of that one up on our Instagram as well. And it looks to be pretty cool. I like the overall kind of burnt up look. Funny enough, though, I do think that it could have been a little bit more burnt up, just because like I feel like he only burned like kind of like half of his face, and I'm like, he was in a whole ass fire. Like, Boy, it should be a little crispy at this point, you know. But that's just me. That's just me. But for more details, you know, you can see the pictures of those on our Instagram. And Halloween Kills is releasing on October 15th, 2021, which is super close. I can't wait for this movie. Yeah, let's move on to our next piece. We have some new horror reveals during San Diego Comic-Con from horror toy collectible company Nika. They released a couple of new or they announced a couple of figures that are coming out. They announced some Bride of Chucky clothed action figure 2-packs, which is of course going to be Chucky and Tiffany, and a bunch of accessories. And then Halloween 2 is also going to get a 2-pack. This one's going to have good old Mikey Myers and Dr. Loomis. And Loomis is going to be comes with a removable trench coat, and Michael comes with a flame attachment so you can make him look like he's set on fire, which is pretty cool. And then they also announced more expansions to the brand new Universal Monsters line with a figure of the Mummy. And they're also adding a second figure of MacReady from John Carpenter's The Thing. And I gotta say, these figures are incredible looking. I'm a huge fan of the Nika action figures. I think they're like super detailed, super, you know, postable and like that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, I think those would be a really fun addition to your horror collection. You can also see the pictures of those on our Instagram too. Like pretty much anything I can say that there's pictures of, you can find it on our Instagram at this point because I've posted just about everything. But now, going back to Lee Janiak, filmmaker behind the Fear Street trilogy, he is actually going to be heading down to HBO Max for a film called The Staircase. The movie is going to be based on... The film is going to be based on the trial of Michael Peterson, who was convicted of murdering his wife. Originally, this was a French miniseries, and then it got expanded into a Netflix docuseries. But now it's going to get a scripted adaptation. It's going to be on HBO Max. And he's actually going to be directing 2 of the total 8 episodes on this. But the film itself is, or the series actually, it's not a film, it's a series. It's set to explore the life of Michael Peterson, his sprawling North Carolina family, and the suspicious death of his wife Kathleen. What's really cool about this too is Michael Peterson will be played by Colin Firth, and Kathleen, his wife, will be played by the fucking queen Toni Collette. If you know from Hereditary, then you know she's a really, really freaking good actress. So yeah, this looks pretty interesting. I'm interested. It's a very true crimey type stuff, which I'm not too familiar with. I prefer to like keep my eyes on the horror movies, not the true horror stuff, because I'm like, that just depresses me a little bit. But if you're into that kind of stuff, this might be an interesting watch for you. Might be a good way to learn some new true crime stuff. So check it out. The next thing we're getting here as well is a slasher book that was released literally about a week ago called The Final Girl Support Group. Was a huge hit, and fun enough, already we learned that a series is an adaptation of the series is already on the works, or they're going to be making it into a TV series. That's the better way to say it, because I can't talk. In the book, let me read you a brief synopsis of this. It says, Lynette is a real-life final girl who survived a massacre. For more than a decade, she's been meeting with 5 other final girls and their therapists in a support group for those who survived the unthinkable, working to put their lives back together. Then one woman misses a meeting, and their worst fears are realized. Someone knows about the group and is determined to rip their lives apart again, piece by piece. This is really cool. Like, the concept behind this is really interesting. It's, you always see in these slashers, oh, the girl escapes, but now we get to see what happens after. Like, how do they deal with the insane situation that they were put through? So I feel like that could be pretty interesting. What's really cool too is it is going to be going to HBO Max, and it is going to be produced by Andy Muschietti, who directed both of the new It films, and Charlize Theron. So I think that's a pretty good mix. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. The source material seems to be pretty cool, and I like the idea of going to see what happens after the credits roll at the end of a horror movie. So I'll keep my eyes peeled for that, because I really want to watch that. Now, this was really announced some time ago, but AMC is going to be it's going to be creating an Interview with a Vampire series. But we do have a little bit more information on that now because, according to a report from Variety magazine, it looks like Alan Taylor will direct Interview with the Vampire for AMC. Now, Alan Taylor has a pretty good resume. This man directed multiple episodes of Mad Men, including the first one. Some episodes of Game of Thrones, Sex and the City, 6 Feet Under, Deadwood, and Boardwalk Empire, as well as The West Wing and Lost. So that I think could be really cool. I don't really know that much about Interview with the Vampire. I know that it's based on a book, and I know that they then made a movie with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. But that's really all I know because I don't know anything. I'm a bad horror fan. But anyway, enough of my groveling and crying for attention. The next piece of news that we have here is a poster for the new James Wan film. It is called Malignant, and I'm so happy to see James Wan going back to horror after Aquaman and Furious 7 for some weird reason. Anyway, the film is called Malignant. It is going to be Giallo inspired, so if you like, your Italian slashers, then you're in for a good time. The movie is set to release in theaters and on HBO Max on September 10th, which is so close. I can't wait for that. It's so close. But the poster for this came out, and it looks really, really cool. It's very similar to those classic 70s, like, Italian horror exploitation movies. It looks really cool. I like that. And then we also got a brief synopsis of the film, and it says, in the film, Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are, in fact, terrifying realities. Which is, holy shit, it looks really cool. The other thing we got is its rating, and of course this movie's going to be rated R for strong horror, violence, gruesome images, and for language. But yeah, just based on that poster, it already has my attention. I really want to go see this. Again, poster for that you can find on our Instagram. But going back now to the previous thing that I discussed here regarding the Netflix movie by Christopher Landon, We Have a Ghost. We also do have some more information regarding the cast. So it looks like the two stars are going to be David Harbour, who plays Hopper in Stranger Things, and Anthony Mackie, who we all know as Falcon and actually the new Captain America. They're going to be playing the two main characters in We Have a Ghost. So that's a nice little, news to receive there, because, like I said, the movie looks interesting. And with these two names attached, I'm interested to see. I mean, now we have two actors that have been in both Netflix projects and MCU projects, and they're going back to Netflix. But this time they're doing it together. So this is going to be pretty cool. I like this. We'll see what happens there. But anyway, back to our next news here. We also got 3 new images from Halloween Kills, and they take us back to Haddonfield for more murder and mayhem. So we got these from the same magazine, Total Film Magazine, that had the crazy burnt up Michael Myers look in its cover. So in these... So in these 3 pictures, we see a Michael Myers kill scene, the return of the Strode family, and some more Michael Myers just action. So this looks really cool. It's definitely getting me hyped up for this film. I can't wait for this. I am heavily anticipating Halloween Kills, and then Halloween Ends like right after that. But anyway, moving on. Our next piece of news is really cool if you're a Chucky fan, because we keep getting more and more little tidbits as to what's going to be happening in the upcoming Sci-Fi Child's Play series. And we now find out that David Coolsmith, who was in The Prodigy and Shazam, will be playing a very young Charles Lee Ray in the new series, which is going to be interesting because this is going to be the first time that we actually get to see Charles Lee Ray or Chucky um, as a child, kind of getting to see what, you know, happened that would eventually turn him into the Chucky that we know today. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting. I'm all for seeing how that change in him came about, or if he was always like, that dark and that evil. So, that could be interesting. I do like that we're going to be going deeper into his backstory. So, the Chucky series is looking more and more interesting every time they announce something. And I can't wait for that, honestly. I just can't. But now for some home media releases. So Netflix and Mike Flanagan's The Haunting of Bly Manor is coming home to Blu-ray. So if you're like me and you're a Blu-ray collector, then you're in luck because Haunting of Bly Manor will be releasing on Blu-ray and DVD. It is set to drop on October 12th of this year, and it will be 3-disc Blu-ray that features all 9 episodes, some bonus content, some behind-the-scenes featurettes, and even some audio commentaries. And then they will also be releasing a Blu-ray 2-pack that contains Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor, so that way, if you want to take a look both, this is your chance. That way you can get both into one nice little bow-legged wrapped package. I can't talk, I'm sorry. Anyway, moving on. So our next piece of news is regarding some more horror, home media stuff. So Friday the 13th is releasing Paramount is releasing an 8-film Friday the 13th collection on Blu-ray. Now, I know you're thinking this has been done like 5 or 6 times at this point. What's cool about this, though, is that it will be a steelbook version of all 8 films, which is going to be pretty cool. Again, if you already have the 8-film collection, there's really not much here except the fact that it's just going to be a steelbook. The only thing that it will be containing outside of that, it's some poster, like some artwork and stills are going to be about postcard size. And that's included for each movie, but outside of that, there's really not a lot going on there. I just think, if you don't have the movies on Blu-ray, this is a good chance. I'm just thinking, if you don't have the films on Blu-ray, this is a pretty good chance for you to be able to grab them and not only that, have them in a really nice little steelbook package. So that is also going to be dropping the same day as Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor on October 12th, 2021, which is very, very close. You can also pre-order that copy. Steelbook is going to be going for $69.99. So it is going to be a little bit of a pretty penny, but if you can, like I said, if you don't have the film, so you really want to get them and you want to shell out some cash for it, might as well go for a nice little beautifully packaged steelbook collection. But moving on to our next piece of news here. We have a new trailer for the upcoming Neil Blomkamp movie Demonic, which is more of like a sci-fi horror movie. Now, if you don't know, Neil Blomkamp is the director of District 9, and this time he's going to be back. It is set for a theatrical, on-demand, and digital release on August 20th, 2021. And then, just to give you a brief overview of that, it shows here that in Demonic, a young woman unleashes terrifying demons when supernatural forces at the root of a decades-old rift between mother and daughter are ruthlessly revealed. And what's also really cool is some of the effect work that's going to be used. According to an interview with Neil Blomkamp, he stated that the film uses a patent-pending new method of using volumetric capture, which is essentially this video technology that turns actors into geometric objects. And the amount of volumetric capture in Demonic is the most I've ever seen in a feature film. So if you are into that kind of visual effects type stuff, I'm not super familiar with it, but it sounds pretty interesting. I might admit to that. I don't know much about it, but it sounds interesting. But yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff, it looks like that will be very, very cool. Now, we already know that we're going to be getting Halloween Kills this year. We're also going to be getting Halloween Ends next year. And of course, they've been advertising Halloween Kills as like this ultimate slasher movie. It's like bigger than the original. Bigger than the other Halloween. It's going to be a lot bloodier, a lot gorier. But when it comes to Halloween Ends, producer Malak Akkad Looks like he's trying to say that they're going to be going for something a little bit different. So he said that the last one is actually going to be way more contained. Like it's going to be a little bit more focused on just like a certain amount of characters. It's not going to go all out. It's not going to go all balls to the wall. That's what Halloween Kills is for. So that's interesting. I'm interested to see how they're going to go from, the ramp up that is Halloween Kills into the later, like kind of slowed down pace of Halloween Ends. So we'll see how that goes. But that's really all we have about that. Of course, Rob Zombie keeps blessing us with more and more Instagram behind the scenes pictures of the Munsters. This time we have images of the clay building or prosthetic of Herman Munster's brow, which is of course like the big famous Frankenstein's monster brow. And we got to see some really good, really detailed pictures of that head brow. And interestingly enough, it's rumored heavily that Herman will be played by Jeff Daniel Phillips, who has literally been in almost all of Rob Zombie's movies. He's been in Halloween 2, Lords of Salem, 31, 3 from Hell. Like he's been in almost all of his films at this point. So that really wouldn't be that much of a surprise. He looks like he's one of the a permanent staple of Rob Zombie movies. But anyway, moving on to some more home media news. Silence of the Lambs will be getting a 4K Ultra HD release in October. It is released to coincide with the 30th anniversary of the film. It will release on October 19th. Sorry about that. And it will be a 2-disc 4K Ultra HD film or release. It will contain high dynamic range Dolby Vision, new audio commentary, and a triple layer disc on disc 1. Disc 2 will contain a lot of the special features. So it's going to have a new audio commentary, a new documentary, two documentaries, a featurette, so actually 3 featurettes, so 38 minutes worth of deleted scenes, almost an hour worth of interviews with cast and crew, trailers, teasers, TV spots, and funny enough, an Anthony Hopkins phone message, which I don't know what that would entail. But yeah, that's pretty much all we have on that. I mean, if you don't have the film, or if you want to just upgrade it for your modern viewing experience, and you can't really go wrong with this, considering all of these special features that this thing will be containing. So I figured, why not go for it, get the best that you can get, and treat yourself. But anyway, enough of me. So this one's kind of a weird set of news here. So last year there was a Hallmark Christmas movie called The Christmas House. And one of the actors in this film, Jonathan Bennett, is actually going to be set to start a new horror movie called The Bog, with Janelle Parrish from Pretty Little Liars, as well as Mark Ryder from Borgia, Timothy Murphy, and Robert Clohesi from Blue Bloods. And that's a little bit of a backstory on that. It says, inspired by haunting true events, The Bog tells the story of two couples led by a troubled Colette, who, intertwined through friendship, unknowing infidelity, and a tragic family death, decide to take an epic hiking trip into the remote Scottish Highlands to get away from it all, reconnect, and stay at one of the secluded ancient cottages that dot the area. What starts at the time of their lives and a much-needed doctor-requested couples retreat quickly spirals out of control for the group of friends in the isolated, harrowing mountain territory. There, they find themselves terrorized by unknown locals and, unbeknownst to them, are subjected to a 1,000-year-old mystical hunting ritual. So this is really, really interesting. I'm getting some ritual vibes from this. If you haven't seen that movie, it is on Netflix. We also did a podcast episode on that a couple months back. So if you want to check that out, you certainly can. But the idea, I've always liked the idea of going to a place that you don't know anything about, being completely isolated from the outside world, and getting caught up in the middle of some sort of twisted cultural thing or like tradition or something like that. So that could be interesting. I'm into it. I'll probably watch it. But due to the success of the Netflix film Army of the Dead from Zack Snyder, we know that he is going to be developing a sequel already. Especially if you've seen the movie, you know it kind of leaves itself open for a sequel. So what he talked a little bit more about what he wants to see in the sequel. Uh, what he said is that uh, it would obviously be leaving Vegas behind. You'll understand why if you've seen the film, and it looks like it will be spreading the infection in a more kind of Dawn of the Dead type of way. However, there won't be any news of the sequel as of yet because it's only been confirmed. But right now, Zack Snyder is going to be focusing on the sci-fi thing he's doing with Netflix, Rebel Moon. But so for right now, we're not going to get many updates on that. But if we know something, you'll know something. Honestly, this isn't a series of news I'm super excited about. I didn't think Army of the Dead was really that good. It wasn't that fun. But if you liked it, hey, all the more reason for you to enjoy this. Big good news there. But anyway, moving on. One of my favorite bit of news for this week, Jordan Peele, the new master of horror right now, because I fucking love all of his movies so far. He gave us he teased his new horror movie as well as its official poster. So the next movie is going to be called Nope, and it got officially announced with its first poster. Really, all we know about that, including what's on the poster, is that it will star Daniel Kaluuya, who is also in Get Out, Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead, and Keke Palmer from Scream will going to be in it. It will also have Michael Wincott, Barbie Ferreira, and Brandon Perea. And the movie is set to release literally in a year on July 22nd of 2022. And I'm like, why? This is so far away. I can't wait to see this. I don't want to wait that long. I'm impatient. I love Jordan Peele. And the poster itself looks really cool. It almost looks like something out of Fright Night. And it's weird. It's like this big cloud with carnival strings hanging from it, heading to another carnival. So I'm like, is it Carnival meets Sharknado? Carnival NATO? Yeah, maybe. No, I don't know. I'm going crazy. But I'm already down for it. I don't even need to know what it's about. I just know that I'm going to go watch that. But anyway, moving on to our next piece. This one's more of a horror collectibles section again. In the wake of the Nika action figure releases that I already spoke about earlier, the company Mezco revealed as well that the Silver Shamrock Kids from Halloween 3 are going to be getting their own Living Dead dolls. If you know the Living Dead dolls, you know that they are adorable. They're like evil Precious Moments dolls. Because they're all horror inspired, they're all creepy looking. And now we're going to be getting the Silver Shamrock Kids, which is pretty cool. I like that. They will be coming out in a set of 3, so you can get some more info on that on the Mezco website. And again, you can see those pictures on our Instagram, but just quick bit of news there. Moving on, this one's a really big one if you're a horror gamer. Announced during EA's EA Play Live 2021 event, a Dead Space remake is in development at the moment. They didn't really elaborate on what they're doing. They just specified that it's going to be a remake of the 2008 original Dead Space using the Frostbite engine. And it is currently slated for PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. Or Xbox Series S or X. This is really cool. Funny enough, I had just played this for the YouTube channel. If you want to check that out, you definitely can. And I love Dead Space. It's one of my favorite horror games. It's one of my favorite horror game franchises. So the fact that we're going to be able to go back to the USG Shimura and really just get into the horror and updated visuals, I'm all for it. I can't wait. I just need a new system to be able to do that for, though. But anyway, moving on. Now, this is interesting. It was announced recently that Blumhouse will be producing a brand new Exorcist film, and we got some more details regarding that pretty recently from David Gordon Green, who will be directing this. Also the director of Halloween and Halloween Kills, and also probably Halloween Ends. It's actually going to be a sequel to the 1973 original Exorcist. So it's going to be kind of the Halloween 2018 treatment that they gave it. So David Gordon Green did specify that in a recent interview The Exorcist has been written. That was one of my pandemic projects. It's not inaccurate that it will be a sequel to the original film. I like all the Exorcist movies. And not only do I like them, I think they can all fall into the acceptable mythology for what I'm doing. That's cool. I like that they're not just wiping the slate clean. I like the little nods they're going to be having to the other films of the franchise. And I get into it. I can get into it. David Gordon Green's already proven himself as a capable director with Halloween and Halloween Kills and all that stuff. So we'll see what he does with a sequel to The Exorcist. We'll see what they do. But we have some more news now regarding the James Wan upcoming *Malignant* film. I think it was on Twitter or something like that. He said, I don't know how to describe this one, except I wanted to take this opportunity to do something smaller and different. It's a genre bender / blender that harks back to my gritty indie roots. And it says here that it's an original story inspired by Bava, Argento, De Palma, and Cronenberg, and the kind of 80s horror thrillers that you would discover on the back shelves of video stores. In other words, he's going to be playing right into our hands, because at the moment, that whole type of 80s schlock VHS stuff is all the rage. It's very popular right now. So I think with the James Wan touch, this could be a really fun, really different movie too. Kind of really set it apart from the other neon-soaked 80s inspired horror films we've been getting recently. So we'll see what he does. But the next piece of news is really funny to me. If you are a fan of the movie Mandy, then you are in luck, because you can also get a brand new Mandy plush toy from Legion M. What's really funny is that this thing is a Nicolas Cage plushie that's been officially licensed and approved by Nicolas Cage himself, and I think that's like the funniest thing. So you can purchase that on Legion M or Entertainment Earth for $31.99, and he's expected to begin shipping out on August 2021. We are also going to be getting 2 new Mandy t-shirts, and those are going to also be available through Legion M. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Get your own little Nicolas Cage plushie. Doesn't even have to be related to Mandy. You can be like, hey, look, I got a Nicolas Cage plushie. Because why not? Next piece that we have here is regarding some more horror collectibles. So for all of the horror-inspired serial collectors out there, we have Count Chocula and Frankenberry getting their own 6-inch figures in cereal box packaging and everything. So this is again from Entertainment Earth, and they're just going to be releasing Count Chocula and Frankenberry. They're going to be selling for about $25 each, and each one comes with an alternate head, accessories, and a retro cereal-inspired window box. Funny enough, they didn't make one for Blueberry. I don't know why. Like, why not just make all 3 of them? Like, just do, Chocula, Frankenberry, and Blueberry. It kind of sucks for Blueberry, but it's okay. Blueberry, it's okay. We still love you. You're still in my heart, Blueberry. It's okay. Anyway, moving on to our next piece here. I actually didn't know about this until very recently. We have an Amazon series in October focusing on I Know What You Did Last Summer. Now, what's interesting is that it's not going to be exactly based on the films. It's going to have a lot of callbacks and a lot of Easter eggs to the films, but it's actually going to be running closer in adaptation to the original 1973 novel. So that's going to be interesting. I didn't even know that was a novel. So I think that could be really interesting, just because I'm interested to see how different the movie is going to be from the novel, and the novel from the series, and so on and so forth. But what's also very cool too is, of course, this man cannot keep his hands away from anything else. This is being produced by James Wan himself as well, and it's actually going to be hitting Amazon Prime in October of this year. They haven't specified exactly when in October, but we do know it is in October. But yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty cool. I mean, I've only seen the first I Know What You Did Last Summer. I know there's like 3 or 4 more, I think. I don't know. But I'm interested to see what they do with a TV series on this. The concept behind it was always really interesting to me. So we'll see how it feels when they give the characters a little bit more time to breathe. Now, this one's interesting. Jason Blum announced that the latest Paranormal Activity is pretty much complete. Now, it is going to be a reboot. It's going to be directed by William Eubank, who made The Signal and Underwater. And the movie is kind of been dated to release on March 4th of next year. But randomly, it was just kind of pushed off the calendar, so people are like already predicting that it might be a surprise drop in October, where they're just like, boom, here you go, and then just disappear. Um, but the movie is really more described as an unexpected retooling of the franchise, but it's still going to be a found footage film. As to how different they're going to go from the overall feel and formula of the other Paranormal Activity films, we don't know yet. So keep your eyes peeled for that if you're if you're into Paranormal Activity. I cannot talk today. It's like the third time I've said that, and if you're still listening to this, I am so sorry. Now this next one is very, very cool. So back in 2019, Shudder released a documentary called Horror Noir: A History of Black Horror. But we just got the announcement that on October 14th, Shudder's going to be expanding upon that. They're actually going to be making an anthology series, just called Horror Noir, and it is going to be featuring new work from both established and emerging talents, showcasing black horror, black directors, and black screenwriters. And it's going to have stories from Tanner Dew, Stephen Barnes, Ezra Daniels, Victor LaValle, Chernold Edwards, and Al Letson. So a lot of big, great talent. So this looks really, really cool. I can't wait to see what this is going to be like. So I really hope that I get Shudder by then, because I still don't have Shudder because I'm a horrible horror fan. But I will see what happens. But anyway, our last piece of news here is regarding Season 3 of Shudder's Creepshow. So now we know that the third season of Creepshow is set to release on September 23rd. And it also revealed that it only contains 6 episodes, and it will guest star some familiar faces like Jonathan Shake, Reed Scott, and Hannah Fireman. Because of this, Creepshow Season 2 is going to premiere on cable on AMC on Monday, September 6th, which is like 2 weeks before Season 3 goes out on Shudder. And what's really interesting is that during one of the interviews, they announced that we're going to have a monster that's influenced by Southeast Asian heritage, which is going to be close to what's called the Kraus, which is the mythological creature of the woman with her head cut off. But from the hole in the head, you see her entrails, and it just hungers for human flesh. It's literally just a head with human, entrails and like intestines and stuff hanging out of it that just eats people. Nothing gets as creepy as that. Like, damn, that's terrifying. Like, if I saw that coming at me, I would die. But anyway, that is our horror news of the week. I hope you guys enjoyed everything, and I hope that you are all caught up. But doing some basic housekeeping here. If you want to follow our co-host, Vanya, you can find her on Twitter and on YouTube as HHN Cultus. She posts a lot of makeup-inspired stuff, horror-inspired, HHN-inspired, and goth culture-inspired content. So if you are into any of that kind of stuff, definitely check her out. She does amazing work. She just needs to update that, though. She's been getting lazy on me. I'm just kidding, Vanya. Love you. Anyway. And then for my personal stuff, you can find me on Instagram at Yussef1220 and on Twitter at itbeyusef. Mostly posting a lot of random stuff on my Twitter. I don't really post on Instagram too much. But anyway, outside of that, on our socials for the podcast itself, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sounds from the Grave. We also have our podcast on, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor, and on YouTube if you want to watch these on YouTube. And we also have our email, soundsfromthegravepodcast@gmail.com. So if you do want to follow us on there and leave us a note, send us an email, let us know that you want to be on the show, let us know about anything you want us to discuss, then please go ahead and do so. But without further ado, we leave you here. We bid you good night and stay spooky, everybody. Bye.